Thousands of tractors roll toward Germany's cities. Roads slow to a crawl as farmers gather in protest. The news cameras whir and politicians reacted. Behind the arguments over fuel subsidies, environmental rules, and farm incomes lies a much bigger question. A question that reaches far beyond Germany. Who gets to decide the future of food? Is it farmers, scientists, governments, or giant corporations? Today, a new technology promises to change farming once again. Gene editing. Scientists say it could help animals resist disease, reduce suffering, support struggling farmers, and make agriculture more sustainable. But when many Germans hear those promises, they don't hear hope. They hear a familiar story. A story they have heard before. A story about power, profit, and control over food. German farmers are under pressure from every direction. Consumers want cheaper food. Governments demand stricter environmental standards. Animal welfare groups push for better treatment of livestock. Climate policies continue to evolve. Meanwhile, many farmers struggle to make a living. For some, it feels like society wants more from agriculture while paying less for the food it produces. This tension has been building for years, and it raises a difficult question. How can farming become more sustainable without pushing farmers out of business? Scientists have proposed many answers: digital farming, precision agriculture, automation, artificial intelligence, and increasingly gene editing. But before we can understand why gene editing became so controversial, we need to understand what it actually is, and why some researchers believe it could transform livestock farming. In the next session, we'll explore the technology that sparked this debate. Gene editing is often associated with the tool called CRISPR. Since its development in the early 2000s, CRISPR has attracted enormous attention. Scientists can use it to make targeted changes to DNA more quickly and efficiently than older methods. Supporters describe it as a major breakthrough. Critics argue that the technology is often presented as simpler than it really is. But regardless of where someone stands, one thing is clear. CRISPR expanded what scientists believed was possible. In agriculture, researchers began exploring whether animals could be edited to resist diseases, become healthier, and make farming more efficient. For researchers, these possibilities were exciting. But many members of the public were looking at the technology through a completely different lens. Because Germany had seen a similar debate before, and the memories of that earlier conflict never disappeared. To understand public reactions to gene editing, we need to go back several decades. Back to the battles over genetically modified crops. Across Europe, genetically modified foods became one of the most controversial issues in agriculture. Germany became one of the central battlegrounds. Environmental groups warned about risks. Consumers worried about food safety. Many people feared that large corporations would gain too much control over farming. Supporters argued that the technology could increase productivity and help address future challenges. But public trust never fully developed. Over time, a powerful narrative emerged. Many Germans came to associate agricultural biotechnology with corporate interests rather than public benefits. The technology became connected to concerns about industrial farming, environmental harm, and economic concentration. For many citizens, the debate wasn't simply about science. It was about who would benefit and who would bear the costs. That history would become extremely important when gene editing entered the picture. Because even though the technology was new, many people felt they had heard the promises before. And that history would shape everything that followed. A group of researchers in Bavaria understood this history. They knew many Germans were skeptical, so they tried something different. Instead of focusing on large industrial agriculture, they partnered with local breeding organizations. Many of these represented small and medium-sized farmers. The researchers wanted to explore whether gene editing could help solve practical problems faced by local livestock producers. Their focus wasn't maximum production. It was animal health. They explored ideas such as reducing disease, preventing painful conditions, improving animal welfare, and helping farmers avoid devastating economic losses caused by illness in their herds. Their vision was simple. What if gene editing could support farmers rather than corporations? What if it could improve animal welfare rather than merely increase production? What if agricultural biotechnology could tell a different story? It was an ambitious effort, but there was one challenge. The public needed to believe it. And that is where things became complicated. Researchers invited members of the public to participate in discussions. The goal was not to persuade them. Instead, it was meant to understand how people reacted to these ideas. Participants were presented with different scenarios. One involved chickens and bird flu. Another involved cattle breeding. A third explored medical uses involving pigs. The researchers wanted to see how people thought about gene editing when it was connected to animal health rather than corporate profits. At first glance, it seemed like a reasonable approach. But something unexpected happened. Again and again, participants returned to the same topic: factory farming. No matter what scenario was presented, many participants interpreted gene editing through the lens of industrial agriculture. To them, everything came back to one issue: the system itself. And that became the dominant story. One phrase captured the mood perfectly. It's all about factory farming. That idea appeared repeatedly. Many participants believed gene editing was not solving the real problem. Instead, they saw it as treating symptoms. The actual problem, in their view, was industrial livestock production, which involves large numbers of animals and intensive farming methods. Pressure for constant growth, low food prices, and endless demands for efficiency. When researchers described disease-resistant animals, participants often responded with a different question. Why are animals being raised under these conditions in the first place? When researchers talked about animal welfare, some participants became suspicious. Was concern for animals genuinely driving the technology? Or was animal welfare simply a marketing strategy? Many felt the technology was being presented as a solution while avoiding deeper questions about the food system itself. In their eyes, gene editing wasn't changing the system. It was helping the system continue. And that belief proved remarkably difficult to challenge. As discussions continued, another theme emerged: trust, or more accurately, distrust. Many participants immediately connected gene editing to large agricultural corporations. They remembered previous controversies and past promises, and they questioned who would ultimately benefit. Would farmers gain? Or would corporations gain? Would animals benefit? Or would production simply increase? Would consumers have a voice? Or would decisions be made elsewhere? For these participants, trust wasn't built by technical explanations. Trust depended on history, and history was working against the technology. The result was a powerful barrier. Even when researchers proposed uses designed to help smaller farmers, Many participants still interpreted the technology through older narratives. The past continued shaping the future. In the next session, we're going to explore an unexpected twist. Not everyone in these discussions agreed with the dominant view, and their arguments revealed an important divide about how people imagine the future of farming. Quick interruption. If you're finding this deep dive valuable, verify that subscribe button is clicked. We're tracking the political economy of food and agriculture, so you don't miss the next video. It is not everyone rejected gene editing. A smaller group of participants saw things differently. They argued that modern societies need large-scale food production. Billions of people must be fed. Food systems must remain productive. And technological innovation has always played a role in agriculture. From this perspective, factory farming wasn't viewed as a temporary mistake. It was viewed as part of the reality of feeding modern populations. These participants believed gene editing might improve conditions within existing systems. Healthier animals, less disease, potentially fewer losses, perhaps even lower environmental impacts. They didn't necessarily celebrate industrial agriculture, but they accepted it as a reality. And if it existed, they argued, then improvements should be welcomed. This created a sharp divide. One group wanted systemic change. The other focused on improving existing systems. And between them stood the question of gene editing. Perhaps the most surprising part of the study involved people with direct experience in agriculture. Veterinarians, people from farming families, and those familiar with livestock production. These participants often approached the discussion differently. They understood practical challenges such as disease outbreaks, economic risks, animal health problems, and daily realities that many consumers never encounter. Their perspectives did not always fit neatly into the simple divide between factory farming and organic farming. Instead, they highlighted a reality that often gets lost in public debates. Many farms exist somewhere in between. Not giant industrial operations, not romantic mountain farms, just ordinary producers trying to survive. And that raised an important question. When society debates agriculture, whose voices are actually being heard? This story is about much more than Germany. Around the world, food systems face enormous pressure due to climate change, environmental concerns, rising costs, animal welfare demands, global competition, and consumer expectations. New technologies regularly appear with promises of solutions. But technology alone cannot solve political problems. And many public concerns are not really about technology. They are about power. Who controls food production? Who benefits financially? Who takes the risks? Who shapes the future? The German debate shows that people often judge technologies based on the systems surrounding them. A technology may be evaluated not only for what it does, but for what people believe it represents. And that distinction changes everything. Before we conclude, it's important to consider the concerns raised by critics. Even supporters acknowledge that gene editing is not a magic solution. Critics worry that it could strengthen large corporations. They worry that economic benefits might not be shared fairly. They worry that deeper structural problems could remain untouched. Some fear that technology could become a substitute for broader reforms. Others worry that public debate could become dominated by technical discussions, while social questions receive less attention. There are also concerns about transparency, governance, regulation, consumer choice, and long-term impacts that may not yet be fully understood. Whether these concerns ultimately prove justified or not, they remain an important part of the conversation. Because the future of food is not only about what can be done, it is also about what should be done. At first glance, the report in this video appears to be about gene editing. But a closer look shows that it's a story about trust. Scientists attempted to build a different vision, one focused on animal health, local farmers, and practical agricultural challenges. Yet many members of the public viewed that vision through the lens of older battles. The debate over gene editing became connected to decades of conflict over food, farming, corporations, and environmental protection. The lesson is simple. New technologies never arrive in an empty space. They enter worlds shaped by history, politics, culture, and by memory. The future of agriculture will not be decided by science alone. It will also be shaped by public trust, social values, and competing ideas about what farming should become. And that debate is far from over.